Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another podcast. Today, I have a returning guest, Sarah Clayton, who is a licensed professional counselor, works a lot with kids and with families. Today, she's going to be talking about how you can have good, healthy conversations with your teenage children. Thank you for joining the show again, Sarah.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
So one of the things that I hear a lot, and I'm sure you do too, that parents seem to have a lot of difficulty having real conversations with their teenagers and just reaching them. So what would you suggest for something like that?
Absolutely. So my background is in kids, but I really enjoy working with teens. It's so much fun to work with them because they're just kind of finding themselves and they have a lot of opinions.
They do.
And so I really like to be able to try to connect with them through their interests. And I try to encourage parents to do that too. They might not always get what their kids are doing, but if you can be a part of it and kind of join in on that world just a little bit, it kind of gives you a little bit more sway. I also encourage parents to not try to fix things for their teens and kind of flip it back on the teenager themselves to kind of think through and figure things out and just kind of be that support person for them.
Okay. So I think that does represent a bit of a transition for as parents of younger kids, sometimes we get in the habit of stepping in to fix things because either they don't have the capability or be able to think things through. But you're saying for teenagers, we have to take a step back and let them fill that space.
Yeah, absolutely. And I try to remind people all the time, high school is such a low stakes time for them right now. It feels like a lot for parents because you're just mapping out the future. But after high school, there's not as many room for mistakes anymore. So I try to help families refocus on, it's not about the homework. It's about helping them be resilient. It's teaching them how do we do things we don't want to do and be able to kind of set goals for ourselves that are achievable, but, might not exceed everyone's expectations.
Okay, so in that vein, as we're talking about giving these teenagers some space to be able to explore their own identity, what are some of the conversations, especially for parents of kids who are maybe 12, 13 years old, what are some conversations that are really important to have as parents with them during that stage?
So 12, 13, when they're just in middle school, definitely hit on human bodies and changes around puberty. That's probably number one. If you're not doing that yet, please start now. Hopefully conversations are already built on when they're kids and you're working your way up to that. But definitely talking about body changes, the effects on that on mental health, consent, dating, healthy dating habits, all that. So that's its own thing.
I will second that because I've had clients come to me asking me to have that conversation with their kids, and I do not. That is the parent's job.
Yeah. After that, I think it's really about helping the kids explore their strengths. What are they good at? What are the things that they need to be aware that are a little bit more challenging for them? But how do we really use those strengths to navigate these bigger things that come up in middle school, especially maybe learning how to study, maybe navigating social situations. But it's really, I try to remind parents, keep that bird's eye view. What's the main point of what they're going through? It's not about who Tiffany told what to. It's about helping your child navigate gossiping and how does gossiping reflect on their character and what kind of person do they see themselves as or they want other people to see themselves as and how do their actions connect with that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so alongside some of these topics and being able to zoom out and see the bigger kind of character conversations that you might have with your kids, you also mentioned that there were maybe 3 specific questions that parents can use to be able to engage their kids in a more real conversation.
Definitely. I've used this a lot with teens, but I think with middle schoolers, it can be really helpful too. I usually encourage parents when, let's say there's a teen or middle schooler and they're struggling with their homework and maybe they're just not getting a problem and they can, the parents can see they're getting frustrated or they're shutting down. And I usually try to help them move from a solution focus, let's solve this problem to 3 questions. And it's, where are you at? What do you need? How can I help? And that's it. It kind of flips the script from putting the parents in that position of figuring it out to now the kid has to figure out, well, how do I feel?
Mhm.
Like, am I frustrated? Am I getting upset? And it kind of gives them room to voice that. And it also, like, I work with parents on, I can give them all the tools in the toolbox, but if the kid doesn't want to do it, it's not that helpful. So it kind of puts it back on the kid to figure out, like,
Mhm.
what do they really need and what would be helpful for them. And then the
Mhm.
parents can kind of come alongside them in that process and, make a suggestion like, hey, like right now you're really frustrated. Let's work on like getting you to a spot where we can tackle this better,
Yeah.
and break out of that frustration cycle, and then come back with that like creative, like how can we solve this problem? What's
Mhm.
going on? What do we need to do differently?
Yeah, for sure. And I can see this stream of conversation kind of sidestepping the issue that a lot of teenagers and their parents might butt heads on, where it feels like the parent's doing too much or they're
Mm-hmm.
not helping in the way that the teenager wants. And this helps to make it really clear what is actually expected from the parent in that situation.
Yeah. And some kids get to that point where they don't know anymore. They don't know, they're shutting
Hmm.
down. And then being able to equip the parents to like kind of sit with them in that moment of like, this is what I'm seeing from you,
Mm.
and I get it. This is really hard. Like, it doesn't seem hard to us because we have everything else in like
Yeah.
adult land, but for
Hmm.
them it's their whole lives. So like
Right.
missing prom is a big deal because that's their like, and
Yeah.
right now it's their whole life. So being able to meet them in that moment, like, this is really hard.
Uh-huh.
And it does really like, it really does suck when we have to do things we don't want to do,
Yeah.
redirect away from this problem,
Hmm.
and kind of get back to that point of where we can connect and reevaluate where we're at and what we need.
Yeah. So you're saying that like even when it hits that point where the teenager is shutting down, parents need to rewire how they're thinking to not think that it's oh, I've failed as a parent because now they're feeling bad, but just to be able to place ourselves in an uncomfortable spot to be with them in that emotion.
Yeah.
How would you encourage parents to have conversations with, especially their young teens, about their emotions? Because that's a huge time of very confusing and very big emotions for kids. And I think sometimes as adults, we forget how difficult that stage was when we were navigating
Hmm.
that ourselves. So, how would you encourage parents to have that conversation with their kids?
Definitely. I feel like a lot of us block out middle school for better or for worse. Um, but I never get tired of saying big feelings. I think it
Hmm.
works for all age groups.
Oh, yeah.
But helping them recognize like, hey, it looks like you got some big feelings going on. Let's pause. Do you want to talk about it?
Mm,
What do you like? Going back to the questions. What do you
yeah.
need? Where are you at?
Hmm.
Um, so I think just being able to help them like recognize those big feelings,
Hmm.
like, and be able to link it to like, hey, you look frustrated, I can see because you're clenching your fist, or
Hmm.
you've got this expression on your face when you get really upset.
Yeah.
So being able to help them link it to how their body is and then what they're
Mm,
feeling, so they get that mind body connection piece down, and then being able to go through the questions like, where are you at, what do you need, how can I
mm,
help, to getting that awareness of like being able to like say where they're really at and what could help them with them, and being able, I think a lot of the times with parents, modeling is really important.
mm.
So I usually tell parents a lot of times, like, when you're frustrated, say you're frustrated. It doesn't have to come out really angry. Don't do it angry, but just say like, man, this is really frustrating,
Mm,
and kind of show like taking a deep breath,
mhm,
or speaking out loud that narrative like, I wonder what I'm doing wrong, I wonder what I could be doing differently right now.
mm.
And so it takes the pressure off of them because they're so self-conscious already,
Yeah.
and it puts it on you as like what they can look towards to be doing. So I guess like modeling for them that self-regulation,
Mhm.
pointing out their big feelings, and then connecting it with like how their body expresses that or how it's seen to other people.
Yeah.
um, a lot of times with especially middle school boys, I don't think they know like how they can come across as like scarier to other people
Mhm.
because they're like just starting to grow into their bodies.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I think those are some really helpful insights for how parents can approach those situations and be able to start helping their teens in a different way than they needed just a couple of years before. So Everyone, thank you so much for checking out this video. Sarah, thank you so much for coming onto the show again and talking through this really important topic. Be sure to like and subscribe. That helps our channel to grow and create more content for you all. We are always looking for more guests to come on the show to be able to share their knowledge and insights, really valuable, just like Sarah demonstrated for us just now. So your support helps us to be able to do that. So thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you next time.